Casey.
Shane.
How do you grade things?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, for what I really think.
So I do this when I'm doing anything. And, I mean, you can play psychologist if you want, and I probably need you to. But I go for...
Let me break out the couch.
Not total disaster. So that's like nearly as far to the good as my brain ever aims for or anything else. Okay,
so like anything not negative.
No,
is good.
Not total disaster is not negative. But the way I came to this is I did a test model for that whole oil wash scheme for the Corn Lord of Skulls.
Oh no!
And this is a little bit boxy, but we've got a lot to get to today, so we may abridge some things. But I did it, and it was not a disaster.
How'd it go?
It turned out a little peachy. It turns out that the red that I got, an Army Painter Air red, was a little peachy colored, not very red. Now, it does read red. It does look grimy in the way that I like. It is also bright in the way that I desired. However, it does not look super red. It looks kind of peachy, and it's on a smaller model. It's Mother Taliesin from Star Wars Shatterpoint, the Witch of Dathomir. She looks fine. And so
fine.
The thing was a success in that it was not a total disaster, but I just wondered if you share that with me, in that your number one goal in any project is just to not have it be
terrible
pants.
Yes, honestly, that is like the biggest fear. Like right now, I've been doing so many commissions, doing Battle Ready Plus, and it's just like I'm falling on all of these traditional old school ways of doing things that I was doing like 2-3 years ago. Easy popping them out. But now I'm top level painting. I'm doing like blending and highlighting and all this other stuff, OSL. And now they're not getting used. So now I'm worried, what's going to happen when I try to paint one of mine?
Where are your skills?
Nasty.
What happened to your skills?
Where's my skills, bro? Where's my 10,000 hours? But I'm glad that oil wash worked out for you, because most people I see, it's either 50-50. They get, oh man, I rubbed this off with like a makeup brush and it's fine. Others, it dried too long and now my whole model's destroyed.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem taking it off. There's one teensy tiny, almost imperceptible fleck that is missing. And of course, I will get this a picture of this to you. I've got a little bit of base to finish. Got to paint the base rim black.
That's what makes it a whip.
That's right, and I'll get it for Whip Wednesday. We're recording on Tuesday because for those of you in the U.S., the 4th of July is this Thursday, which is our normal. Is that our normal recording day? No, it isn't.
We like to say.
Anyway, we had to record early, so if any big news drops happen between now and the end of the week, we will just be late, which is gonna have to be fine. One of the big news drops is that Age of Sigmar is here. The new Age of Sigmar, there are battle reports being released. The rules, I believe, come out this weekend, and then the various, I forget what they're calling them, but basically they're the faction indexes are coming out all next week. And it looks like next Thursday is when my Night Haunt are revealed. And so I'll get to take a look at that and see if I even have enough Night Haunt to begin to play the game. So,
did you see those community painted models that the Warhammer posted?
I did not.
Man, I don't get down with Age of Sigmar, but I must say they are noise.
Yeah, well, the community, they don't rate their things on disaster, not disaster like we do. They try hard.
Oh boy, and did they ever? Man, I'm just glad that Games Workshop managed to put their names in it, because they deserve it. Wow, some of these they're noise.
Are you going to include some names or?
Oh, well, the one I'm looking at is Katarzyna Gorska, and it is a Sigmar dude on like a big Gryph-hound.
That sounds like one of those names where they handle painting with light way different than we do.
Oh yeah, and then you got Christine Corum and this blindfolded Sigmar dude. Man, the OSL is just crazy. It's fantastic. But my personal favorite is Liam Howe at Liam Paint Stuff. He had his boy up there on a really nice Nightquester with a head swap, and I love the grass, I love the turquoise, I love the pale gold. Everything about it just looks great.
Last week we had Austin on the pod, and we talked about is 40K too hard, and got a lot of good feedback. Now,
you guys popped off.
I do wonder something. Okay, folks. First of all, do we like evergreen content with like big sort of ideas like that, or do we like the more topical stuff? It seems that the more evergreen, admittedly clickbaity titles tend to do a little better, especially on YouTube. But let us know in the comments of this pod what you think on that matter. And also, the title of the video / pod was "Is 40K too hard?" And obviously that was just to ask a question to start a discussion. But a whole lot of people have gotten on and commented what they think about the relative difficulty of 40K and have not said anything about their tastes or feelings about other types of games. And that makes me wonder if y'all just be commenting on the title.
Right,
Stop
like
that.
they just click on it. They go in the comments. They're like, I'm not even going to listen to this. I'm going to
give my 2 cents.
Post negative stuff.
I'm just going to give my 2. Well, it wasn't all negative. I mean, some of it was interesting, I thought. Now, I was going to ask for your input on the matter, but you didn't listen to the pod either. So we will skip ahead and open up the bits box. Casey, I pretty well told everybody what I did in the hobby this week. My Corn Lord of Skulls right now is black and white with airbrushed values all over him, and he looks good. What did you do in the hobby this week?
You know, I finished up an entire commission of Alpha Legion. I think it was like 3 characters, a few basic units, but also the Daredeo Dreadnought, which is a Dreadnought I actually really don't like. It is, I mean, I painted it, I made it look good, I fixed up some stuff on it, and it looks really nice. A lot of practice with transfers, so, you know, people who work with transfers, you do a good job. I mean, freestyle, freehand, those guys, I mess with it, I do good, but I just haven't been able to get that, like you say, that 10 out of 10 perfect chef's kiss. But transfers, they make things a little bit easier.
I saw somebody did a stencil recently in the local community. Yeah, it was on a night shield, and it looked good. Stencils are funny, right? Because I feel like transfers, let's be honest, they always look like stickers a little bit. Just a little bit like stickers.
And I've done stencils before, you know, just for like basic stuff that make it look like graffiti. You know, it's a real easy way to make graffiti. Like on terrain, you cut out a piece of paper or some drawing for like a Gene Stealer cult symbol or an orc symbol. You take a sponge and then you just do 2 different colors and it looks spotty and like, you know, like graffiti. That's what I do.
Okay, so you just handed me this Dreadnought.
Daredeo Dreadnought.
All right.
Shooty boy.
It's a Mad Catz from Mech Warrior.
I don't know. It looks like a boat to me.
Yeah, I mean, folks, it's 100%. It's got the big missile launchers on top. It's got 2 arms. It's got a beaky midsection, and that has got to be a lawsuit somewhere.
Guns, yeah.
Somewhere there must be a lawsuit around this. Is this a Legends thing?
I think that one did go to Legends. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet
it's
did.
Horus Heresy now.
Yeah, they're not obliged to sell very many of those, I imagine.
Yeah, the paint job's pretty good. You guys will probably see photos of this coming up on the Whip Wednesday. I really like it. It looks nice. I just cannot get past a Dreadnought that cannot punch. Can't do it. I'm sorry.
But anyway, on the transfers, you know, it's funny. The transfers kind of always feel like stickers. The freehands are the best. But then you got all this you have all this variance of quality. And then the stencil, I feel like, is always a little too sharp on the edges. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it can build up around the edges.
Yeah, I always feel like a stencil is way too sharp. A tape job is similar. I've done some tape
like with
jobs.
hazard stripes.
Yeah, I've done some taped hazard stripes before, and they look a little bit too sharp. And so I've subsequently started in my hazard stripes freehand, and they turn out better, honestly. You know, with my goal to not have it be a disaster, and therefore, if it's not a disaster and it's just hazard stripes, the result is Pretty good. But anything else in the hobby this week, Casey?
No, I'm pretty proud of those. They look pretty nice. Black is a little bit boring of a color to work with, but that's it. But that's all I've been doing. My paint light broke.
Paint light broke.
Yeah,
What'd
my paint
you do?
light broke. It just, I guess it shorted out. So I'm going to have to get a new one or fix it or something. I don't know. But I've been painting like in what little light I could.
You've been painting in the dark.
Well, not in the dark, but
we,
you know what I mean.
We presently are sat in the dark. You would not play cards under this light.
Find her.
Close the bits box, and we will get to the things we have to talk about. First of all, this will be a little bit of a quick one. Did I ever mention what we were doing for this main topic? We're talking about we've solved the Pariah Nexus.
We have.
Yeah, the new match play. We've sorted it out. We've got all your tips. You're here at the one-stop shop to learn how to play it. And
Shane picked up the cards like as soon as they came out.
Yeah, and to beat up on your friends, we have got that all ready for you. But first, we've both played the new Boltgun DLC, and we wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
What the heck is it called?
Boltgun Forges of Heresy, I believe.
I don't think that's right. It's something Forge. We've really done good prep for this. Casey's looking it up.
Yeah. Forges
of.
Gosh, can I really not find this? That's something that really grinds my gears. People don't post whole titles of stuff. Forges of Corruption.
Forges of Corruption.
Yes, and it was actually really great.
Yeah, so it's really short.
It is. It is.
Relatively. So you can go back into the backlog and look at and listen to our review of Boltgun. I think it might have been the first video game review that we've done, and
it popped off.
I think I gave it a 6 skulls out of 10. I later might have raised it to 7.
Yeah,
you absolutely loved it.
I loved it
because I think that you need to play a second video game. But I like it. I like it quite a bit. You
don't love it? You like it?
I like it, and a couple of things help Boltgun. One, it's very simple. It's if you don't know, it's a retro shooter in the vein of Doom or Quake or Wolfenstein, those kinds of things. It's got the pixelated graphics. It is very fast. There's as much story as can be told in one solitary paragraph of text.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. It follows, what's his name?
It follows Malum Kaido, Stern Guard veteran of the Ultramarines on the Forge world of Greya.
And he's all by himself. Some Inquisitor sends him down there from the ship, and that happens in the first, 15 seconds of story, which is all the story that you really get.
Yeah.
And then you proceed
They're trying to take over some forges. You need to stop them.
Yeah, and in the first part, they're doing the same thing to a different planet. It's easy.
No, it's
simple.
The same planet.
Is it the same planet?
It's the same planet.
You just hop over to another spot?
Yeah, they were like, this place is ancient, old, no one's been there. They're trying to wake it up.
Well, anyway, what it does really well that I appreciate is it does capture the power fantasy of being a Space Marine, because it's just you against innumerable heretics, Xenos, Chaos, Duders. And you blow them up, you shoot them up, you chain sword them to death, you dash into them as a horde and blast through them with your shoulder.
Yeah.
You run real damn fast.
Yeah.
Little correction. A couple weeks ago, you had for our Space Marine segment that the Space Marine could run whatever number so fast for like days. And I said, that doesn't sound very fast. And we discovered that it was not. Shout out to Usain Bolt, who is way faster than a Space Marine at a trot. But then we found a little bit of information that the Space Marine at full chat with his big nuclear refrigerator on his back,
much faster,
is hauling the mail to the tune of about 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Which is,
pretty good.
Yeah, that's a truck on the highway coming to mess you up.
That's a freight train.
Yeah, while shooting his bolter with staggering accuracy.
Chainsword revving.
Rev it up. And Boltgun gives you that really well.
Oh, yeah. The speed.
Yeah.
The carnage.
Later in the levels, so in the new Boltgun DLC, you get 6 new levels. And in the sort of last 3, it gets heavy. And you're on your sprint button and you're running around and you're shooting what you can and you're picking up health and you're picking up ammo because you're just dumping everything into everything constantly.
Yeah.
And when you're flying across the battlefield at full sprint and his feet go boom, 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 boom.
You feel pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's giant feet noise.
Mega Man feet, yeah.
Except they're moving very, very fast.
Which is going to be great.
Speaking of very, very fast, the Hell Brute.
Which is a new addition with this DLC.
That's right, is brand new. And it makes an interesting thing. Okay, so I have a Hell Brute in my Chaos Space Marine list, and he is not great.
I still love him, though.
I bring him often, and I always think he'll do something. He doesn't do anything. He usually just gets killed.
Did you ever name it?
No, I don't care about him enough to
for
name
the Crusade?
him. Forget him. He's terrible. But I always thought the Hell Brute was sort of a slow plodding, boom, 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 boom kind of thing. And then you meet one in the new Boltgun DLC, and it is a dum, 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 dum sort of situation.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is huge, and it is on you.
It is pretty cool because he's motivated with that demonic energy. His body's fused with the machine, and he is coming with his dark power to make you a bloody smear on the ground.
He's very fast.
He's very fast.
He's very fast. You think you'll just walk away, and he's like, no, you won't. I'm here.
I'm finding you.
I'm right behind you. I've trapped you in a corner. Oh, you've shot me nearly to death, but you think you're going to go take a break. Well, let me just heal myself.
Babe Ruth pointing,
it's not good.
Calling a shot.
Yeah, it's all bad. I was glad to see the rocket launcher. That was a good addition to the game.
Yes, I'm so ready for this. I was ready to talk about this. I love the rocket launcher.
The plasma gun was the rocket launcher, but it didn't make as much sense. And then the rocket launcher is like real serious. So that was great. I thought... I'm of two minds of the Boltgun DLC to wrap up our review of it. It is good.
It's good.
It's more of what you want if you enjoyed Boltgun, if you enjoy retro first-person shooters. It is criminally short. However, it's $6.
Exactly.
And if you said you can have Boltgun for $1 a level, I think that you would be happy with that. I believe Boltgun itself is what, $20. So for $27 on Steam, you get about that many levels. Yeah. It has a horde mode, which I didn't play with. I played on normal difficulty, which was plenty hard enough, by the way. And there are nightmare difficulties and things like that. If you just,
ooh boy,
I don't know who that's for. That seems hard.
My favorite part of that game is getting that max ammo special, pulling out that rocket launcher and just going.
And you played on Xbox. What Xbox are you playing
I'm on Xbox One, but soon we'll be on Xbox One X to perform a pre-order for a certain game we need to be reviewing in the future.
Indeed. I played on PC. It runs like S off a shiny shovel on PC. I imagine it was similar on Xbox.
Oh, yeah. It was nice.
So it will run on any old toaster that you've got. So I give the Boltgun DLC...
How many skulls?
I was going to give it 8 skulls out of 10, but I'm going to subtract 1 skull just because I played the entire thing in one sitting. And that is, even for $6, that's short. So 7 skulls out of 10, more Boltgun, more gooder.
I think what I'm going to do is give it a... I think I'll 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. I loved the DLC. It was kind of short. I loved going to secrets, and it was really cool to see, like, even though it was a short bit of story, it was still a little fun to see the story.
Yeah, it was cool.
So, and at the end you think, oh no, what's happened? And then you're just like,
don't spoil it.
Or is it? I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's a surprise. But man,
I do wonder if there are alternate endings, because
that would be dope.
And I haven't looked it up, I like to not look up anything when I'm playing a game these days. But I do wonder if there's an alternate ending.
Like
where
all those old video games.
Yeah, because it gives you a percentage killed at the end of every level. You know, you get that rundown. And I didn't have very many where I killed 100% because
I had a lot where I killed 100% because I love to purge.
Toward the end there, it gets rough.
It really does. Did that one level where the hell brutes pop up from the factory floor and you're still fighting like a bunch of mob of heretics? That was rough.
Yeah, it was rough. I died a lot.
Luckily.
So that's our review of Boltgun. Go check it out. It is definitely worth playing. And you know what? Games Workshop gets a lot of stick for being so expensive and being greedy and carrying on.
True.
And $27 for a whole game and its expansion is
not that bad.
It's not that way, is it?
Well, I mean, I think in our Boltgun review we agreed that it was definitely worth the money.
Yeah, and I agree that the DLC is similar. Now, I have played 3 Pariah Nexus match play games.
He has played 3 Pariah Nexus games. What is the review?
How many have you played, Casey?
I have played 1.
That'd be the one against me?
That would be the one against you.
Man, that was... we talked about that briefly, me and Austin, because it was in my bits box. It had happened the week before. Yeah, if you had listened to the pod, you would know. That was the tightest you've ever played me.
Yes.
There was some interesting things. So what I've got...
So difficult.
What I've got, folks, is a top 5 list about how you can enjoy better the Pariah Nexus and sort of my thoughts about it. It's a little bit of a Pariah Nexus review. So we're not talking about the Crusade book, also called Pariah Nexus, which we have reviewed in the past. Go check it out because I think 7 of you have listened to that pod.
Yeah.
It's quite fun to play Crusade. We talked about that, some angles about Crusade and different types of games last week on the pod. Go check it out. It's getting quite a few views on YouTube. Hopefully this one will do likewise. But we're talking about the new match play deck. It is the new way that nearly all the sweaty tryhards that you know will be playing 40K from now until someone tells them different, because they are sheep and they are so desperately competitive in this not very good outlet for that.
Fair.
Anyway, I've got a top 5 list. And I think what we'll do is I'm going to go through the top 5 lists, and you can comment on what you think on these things, because...
A little back and forth.
Yeah, a little back and forth, because you don't have a list.
I don't.
I'm not sure you've thought about it that much. You've seen the card pack one time.
I enjoyed it.
It's good, isn't it?
It's good.
Number 5, hot new secondaries in your area.
Love the secondaries in Pariah Nexus.
So the secondaries... They're new ones, just totally new ones. One, Cull the Horde.
Pretty spicy.
Cull the Horde is a weird one.
Yeah.
Where...
Orc specific.
It is it is a little Horde army specific. And what it is you get 5 victory points if you can destroy a unit with a starting wounds characteristic of 25 or I think maybe model count of 20. So it's like kind of an either or.
Yeah. And it's very specific to all you dudes who are out there running the Bully Boys list right now that I think just got nerfed. You know, you run into mobs and mobs of boys, and that gives, you know, your enemy a fighting chance of racking up points.
Yeah, it gives me in my Veterans of the Long War a chance to put my focus of hatred on a group of 20 boys.
Just go.
And just, you know, re-roll hits on shooting them up with some stuff. And then that's 5 free points for me.
I did like that you could get rid of it.
Yeah, so
I drew it.
There are a few of these where if your opponent doesn't have a qualifying unit, you just get another card, which is nice.
Something that's happened a lot in 10th is people get these stratagems. They're like, oh man,
secondaries.
I wonder if secondaries. And I oh man, time to draw secondaries. And then I think, oh, I'm going to get these great points and come back from this, and then you see what you get, and it's like nothing really is going to help me out here. But that was a refreshing, as I think I want to say the word.
Yeah, and so the other thing we got in the new Pariah Nexus is you can use the new order stratagem for 1 CP as many times as you want.
Yep.
So one of these that I wish would just shuffle back in is Bring It Down.
Yeah.
Bring It Down is destroy vehicles, and if you've already destroyed all the vehicles by the time you draw it, then you're just out of luck. And that always feels bad. And before, you would just kind of be stuck with it. And now you can, even if you've done new orders already to dump something silly, you can get a new one. The other one I like a lot is called Sabotage, where you do an action in a terrain feature.
That was fun.
I like that. There's also, I can never keep them straight. So there's Sabotage, and there's one that it was Investigate Signals, where you had to be wholly within 9 of table corners. And that was stupid, because if the fight is any fun, hardly anybody is standing in the vicinity of the corner of a table.
Exactly.
Now it's battlefield edges. So all the edges that are not your deployment zone, you get wholly within 9 of that. And that tends to work, because usually you got some stuff out on the outskirts.
So much more opportunity.
Yeah, so you stand over there and you do an action, and that's good. There's one other that's new. Oh, Marked for Death. Love Marked for Death. You draw it.
You drew that in my game, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. You draw it, and your opponent has to pick three units.
Yeah.
Then my job is to kill one of them. I get 5 points. So that allows your opponent to dictate the direction of the battle for a bit,
which can be good or bad, but it's a great opportunity for points.
Well, I think it's good. Like if somebody draws Marked for Death on me, then I'm going to pick stuff that incentivizes you to go toward things I want you to go toward.
Yeah, and if you're going up against somebody like Knights or Grey Knights or Custodies who have like 5 models, you're pretty good. So, me with my vehicles.
Number 4 is lower scorers. So 2 of my Pariah Nexus games have been in the ongoing league that we're playing, and scores are down across the board. And a little bit of this is going to come up as people like tune lists toward the Pariah Nexus. However, there is some stuff really baked into this that is going to make it hard to score 100 every time. There are going to be instances where at tournaments, if you want to score 80, 90 points, you are going to let some of your army get shot off the board and destroyed. Because you kind of can't do both. You sort of can't table your opponent and score a ton of points.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is awesome. What do you think about the scoring? Have you seen any battle reports and things of this sort and seen this play out?
Off my experience, I would say that it does seem a little bit more thinky. You get to spend more time feeling like a bit of a strategist, because you can go either I'm going to be that guy who goes and plays competitive and get the points, go for my secondaries, go for the points on the board, or I'm just going to mess you up. And well, being the guy who prefers to mess you up, it's interesting. I don't know if it makes it more competitive or less competitive.
I think it's good that I think that being that 40K scores out of 100, and let's call it 90, even because the 10 paint points are free. But the score pool is 90 points. Like, that's a basketball score. There should be quite a bit of game balancing that can be done with just how many points X, Y, or Z is worth. And therefore, when you get in a situation where the winner almost always scores 100 or very close,
right? I
feel like you're leaving a lot of you're leaving a lot of resolution on the table. In like you know what I mean? Like, and I mean like think about pixel resolution. You know, we're a 10 by 10 and we look real blocky, but then when we're 100 by 100, we look a lot less blocky. And that's literally what's happening. If 40K was scored out of 10 points, like some traditional miniatures games are, where, I got a point for this at the end of the thing, and the score ends up 7-4. Well, that's pretty tough because a point is hard to come by.
Yeah.
And you're always going to end up with these 7-4 situations. Or I guess what I'm saying is
you can look at the battle based on the scoring and tell what happened. Like our game, we were fighting tooth and nail the entire time. Then that fourth round came around, and boy, did you jack up your points.
Yeah, what did it end? 80 to 50 something?
Yeah, something like that.
And I had an uncontested turn at the end.
It was noise.
But I think it's good that it's very difficult to score 100. And I think it probably is a better game overall when it's that way.
Makes it more respectable if you get 100.
And also I just think that the real thing there is the more you can stay in that middle band with the score, the more I think it's a sign of better game balance. That you don't get just
crushed.
Or you don't just get these runaway point situations where it's 100 to 98 and that's the game. It's like, well, that begins to feel like there's some sort of failure in the way that the scoring is happening.
Agreed.
Because once you get to 100 and then the other guy gets to 100, well then now what do we have? A draw at 100? That doesn't feel good. Especially if somebody's got 100 by turn 3. I don't know. Don't at me in the comments. I'm sure you can't get 100 in turn 3, but in Leviathan we were seeing a whole bunch of winners scoring 100. Now we're not doing that so much. And I think that's good. Number 3, get your troops out. Get your troops out. A lot of mission rules benefit battle line. And I say get your troops, but it's technically battle line, but everybody knows that all the battle line and nearly everything is dudes with boots. Bootstraps. And I love this. Now,
Boot Scoot and Boogie.
You don't have to have battle line. There's no reason. There are some secondaries there are some mission rules that make things work better if the battle line are doing them. There are secret missions that require battle line.
Action monkeys.
Yeah, I guess. But you don't have to have them. However, I like that the game incentivizes some battle line. Why? Because I want the flavor of every army to be represented on the tabletop. I don't like the idea that someone could play a Space Marine army and bring no Space Marines.
That is a good point.
I don't like the idea that you could play demons and not bring any representative number of demons along. Like the big Monster Mash demon lists where it'd be 4 greater demons and 2 units of Nurglings. You can't even, I think you can still do that. You can't do that if they're joining like my guys, but I digress.
Right. You want it to stay more true to the lore.
Those greater demons are never coming around without their entourage. Just their swath of screaming, skittering little dudes that,
they command.
The idea that Shalaxi and Rodigus are just kicking it is silly. And so I like that there's been that they've given some incentive to taking some battle lines so that that armies are going to look like the army that they're supposed to be.
Boy, howdy, has it been a lot of tanks, a lot of vehicles, a lot of elite stuff that people have been throwing on the board. And I am here for it because, man, when you're starting out and you're running some just basic boys or just your average Space Marines and somebody's coming at you with 2 Land Raiders and maybe Rabute, Gilliman, and some heavy hitters, it's kind of
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. There's it made a weird sort of barrier to entry to playing many competitive games because you'd rock up to the game store to play with, and you'd have your combat patrol and maybe a couple other boxes of O units, right?
Yeah.
And then you'd get a stat check of, okay, now destroy these 2 Land Raiders and this tank. And it's like, well, I don't have anything for that. I've got I've got some jump pack dudes and a character and some guys that run around, maybe a rhino or one of those little hover tanks. And so you'd get your head kicked in.
Yeah.
Now, at least, if you're going to bring a bunch of tanks, you're not going to have many guys. And if you don't have many guys, in my experience so far, you're going to have a hard time getting your points.
Yeah, I run into that a little bit.
You did. You brought a very Leviathan-y list.
Dread Mob.
And I had a whole bunch of dudes running around.
You did. And with your heavy hitters, the big boys, they were the first ones I took out. And yet then where we ended up at the end, you had a ton of infantry.
And a ton of points scored.
There you go.
On the flip side of that, I had set up a lot, and this will bring us into number 2, and I will announce it particularly so you can keep up. But I had a lot of my battle line units that I brought a bunch of set up to do a bunch of actions and a bunch of secondaries, and happened to not draw an action secondary until like the 4th turn of the game.
That did happen.
Which was silly. But sometimes it'd be like that. But that brings me to my number 2 point, my number 2 interesting thing you should think about in Pariah Nexus, which is the action mechanic. So, previously in Leviathan, and this is what made scoring so easy, is anything that was considered an action, you just had to, if you could shoot under nearly any circumstance, so people with assault weapons or whatever, you could just do that. So-and-so is going to do this, and it would usually finish instantly. So you'd say, this guy's going to scan the corner, and the corner's scanned, and it's done. And this guy's going to deploy the teleport homer, and it's done, and yada, yada, yada. Now, there are a lot of action secondaries which require you to control the point, not be OC0, not be battle shocked, and then you can't shoot or charge. You can be charged and fight, but you got to stay there. And a lot of these things require you to stay there until like the end of your opponent's next turn.
Yep.
And I love that because it makes it so you have to think about stuff. And I'm going to give my number 1, and then we're going to talk about these 2 together. Number 1, my favorite thing about the new Pariah Nexus is it makes you have to think about stuff. Here's what I mean. Let's say you've brought a bunch of tanks and a bunch of stuff, and you think, well, I'm just going to table my opponent with all this firepower, yada, yada, yada. Well, it's going to take you some turns to do that. I've also got small groups of dudes hiding behind ruins and in them, so you can't even see them. If you want to use one of those tanks to do an action, because they're the only thing on the board, that tank can't shoot. That's 200 plus points sitting there. That's not what you want. Meanwhile, I've got dudes that just hopped out of stuff, that have ran over, that have, got themselves in position to sabotage a building, for instance, to hang out over on a board edge, and I don't know what they'll set up. They're setting up something, I imagine. And it's okay if those guys don't shoot. What were they going to do with their little pitter-patter? You can charge into my Chaos Space Marine Legionary with an attached character, and for 2 CP I can give them fight first, and we will destroy you while we set up our little radio equipment. You can do that. But it gives you so much more to think about, and it creates these situations where, yeah, the easy answer is I'm going to shoot you off the board. Except it'll take you 3-4 turns to do that, and you'll have scored nothing.
Exactly.
I mean, you'll have scored some primary. Okay. Well, then I can secret mission you to death.
Exactly.
And that is awesome. What do you think about the actions and what it makes you think about? Because you ran green teeth first into this in the game that we played.
Yes, I played a little cagey, stayed back a little bit, tried to perform secondaries best I could. I did get a little edged out with the secondaries in the end, but overall, I thought they were really nice, especially that one we talked about where we, it's like investigate signals, but with table edges. That was awesome because, man, drawing investigate signals is kind of rough when you're in the game and you're ready to go and things are on a roll, and then it's like, oh, I have to score way over here.
And 2 points, and then if you want to score anything, you got to do it 4 times. It was ridiculous.
I think I only had to get rid of what was it, like the last 2 secondaries I got, and that was the entire game. What didn't you have like a couple you got rid of?
I don't recall, but I think the bigger thing to talk about on that is you didn't really have many just units of boys.
Yes.
You had knobs, you had mega knobs, you had all this stuff.
Yes.
That looked really good in Leviathan.
My goal was control center table.
Right.
Score where I could.
Mm-hmm.
But when you pulled out more infantry than I did and was able to swathe a huge amount of guys onto a point and then secondary me to death, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, so I think... And this is like we've been talking about the things we like basically about Pariah Nexus and the things that are different. And these are good considerations for you to make if you're making your list, but they're not so much tips. Now, this one is a tip. I think that Pariah Nexus incentivizes you to take smaller units of troops. So if you can take 10 boys, take 10 boys, not 20 boys.
Yeah.
Reason being, what you're going to want to do is take 2 units of 20 boys. Obviously, you're capped at 6, so you'll end up with 60 boys, but I think the versatility is very important. Now,
sound like an Ultramarine over there.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a person that wants to take smaller units because, and I don't know. I mean, look,
more chances to do stuff.
Exactly, it's more chances to do stuff, and I don't always see how the big block of, talking about Space Marines, the block of 10 is always better than the block of 5, because you gotta deliver this block of 10 and you gotta hide this block of 10, and that I find is more difficult.
I think a good example of that would have to be the end of the game when you'd already won. You wanted to get a few more points. I used my Gretchen stratagem on you. You had your boys coming at me from the right and a couple coming at me from the left. So I was like, hide away from these guys and do some mortal wounds. And so there you were with a backup unit of 5 guys ready to run in and rip that unit to shreds. And it scored you more points.
Yeah. And if I had just had all those in big blocks of 10, could I have even hid them to deliver them to whatever it is that they needed to get delivered to?
Exactly.
So I think we're going to see this with Guard a lot.
Ooh,
Guard previously have been incentivized to take 25, 30-man blocks of stuff and then use their reinforcement stratagem to bring them back every time they get killed, because then you get that whole giant block of people back. And now you can only do that once per game. So I think that they're not going to want to even bring those guys back unless possibly they know that, all right, this 10-man bunch of Guard they're going to reinforce, and then I'm going to drop them out here, out of my deployment zone in a train feature, so that when sabotage comes up, they'll be able to sabotage, and they'll be totally hidden. Because that's the other thing, is 30-man blocks of dudes, hard to hide.
Exactly.
Hard to fit anywhere.
Easy to shoot.
Easy to shoot. Easy to shoot with their whatever save.
So you melee armies out there, the boards are getting busier, but your units need to be smaller.
Well, that's because the units are busier, right? And here's my thinking. Like in your case, if you had 2 units of 10 orc boys rather than 1 unit of 20, they still fit in the truck the same.
Exactly.
Except when they jump out, now they're separate. And there's nothing in that whole big long list of action rules that says the both of them can't try the action. So you could action here, same action. And if one of them, if it's one that is going to wait until the end of my turn, I could probably kill one of them, but I may not be able to kill both, and then you'll get your points.
You pulled that off a lot during our game.
Yeah. It's a good way to go if you can get it. But I don't think we've got anything else. That's our take on the new Boltgun DLC. a top 5 of the Pariah Nexus and what you should be thinking about, what we like about it, our thoughts on it, and what maybe you should be looking for, strategizing for. Now, I have seen other people talk about how to ignore the battle line entirely and just go even further into the heavy tanks and stuff. And I just don't see how that is going to work, because if you and your opponent do that, I predict you both end up scoring 30.
Yeah.
Where everybody's dead by the end of turn 3. and the best you'll do is 30 to 50. Because I just don't know how you're ever going to get anybody to the corner and to the middle and yada, yada, yada. I don't think we've got anything else. Do you have a Space Marine segment, sir? Space Marine Nugget.
Space Marine Nugget. Did you know?
Probably not.
That all of the Raven Guard Space Marines.
Ooh, you're doing those right now.
Yep. Have black eyes, pale skin, and dark hair, even if they didn't start with it before.
Yes, more diversity in the Space Marine Legions. But we'll talk about that possibly in another pod. We'll see you next time.
Peace. Stay fanatical, folks.